Hey guys, Sky here. Do you like lightsaber fights? Of course you do. You're a person, I hope. I think it's common knowledge at this point that everyone kind of hates the Star Wars sequels, and as much as I don't have the energy to fight that notion anymore, I do have the energy to defend one aspect of them. The lightsaber duels in the sequels have garnered this really incredibly negative reputation despite not even being that bad, and in some cases, being very good. It's not uncommon to be scrolling these days and find a meme like this. And while it's undeniably accurate, what if I told you there's a lore reason it's like this? A lore reason that's so good that I'd venture to argue the downfall of lightsaber choreography across the Star Wars saga is, in and of itself, good storytelling. This is going to be a bit of a long argument, so bear with me. But let's take a quick little look at the history of lightsabers themselves and lore. Nerds among you probably already know this, but the first version of lightsabers were called proto-sabers, and back then they still took micro USBs, meaning that even the most skilled Jedi couldn't even dream of doing an Ani-Obi. They were also, of course, super rare because Jedi were new and the Sith didn't even exist yet. These lightsabers were used strictly for deflecting blaster bolts or like maybe as a cheese knife.
Look, a lightsaber cheese knife. Yuck.
Then we get to the iconic lightsaber design, and the Sith also exist now, so along with blocking blaster bolts, they also developed 6 more lightsaber techniques because when you have this many toys to sell, you're gonna have some crazy variations. I mean, like, what the fuck is this shit? But unfortunately, as we know, at the height of their power, they allowed Disney to rise, buy Star Wars, and fire Nick Gillard. What I meant to say is that at their most populous and most corrupt, they were also at their most skilled. Lightsabers were honestly far too revered by the Jedi Order in the prequels. Obi-Wan would tell Anakin that that weapon is his life, and that's just it. As good old Mrs. Medarda says,
"Weapons can't be unmade, and they are always used."
God, I love Arcane. Despite their noble intentions and all the teachings saying that lightsabers are a peacekeeping tool and not a weapon, let's just call a spade, you know? Tell him, Lawson.
Laser sword.
Also, at that point, there were so many Jedi that they were bound to get bored, and they would just do lightsaber duels for sport. During the prequels, lightsaber dueling had been a centuries-old art form, practiced and refined to near perfection. Of course they look rad. But then again, what else happens in the prequels? If the art of lightsaber dueling was really only known to the 10,000 active Jedi and the 4 active Sith, as we learned in this video you should check out, that would mean that post-Order 66, there would be about 55 people left in the galaxy truly proficient in lightsabers. And that's where the Disney lightsaber choreography sucks argument falls apart, because no it doesn't. Did you watch Maul Shadowlord? In the many, many pieces of media following Order 66 survivors, their skill in lightsabers and quality of choreography has carried over. A lot of people like to just write off the fact that Maul Shadowlord or the Jedi Survivor games are pieces of Star Wars content that were released under Disney, and yet they're just as consistent. There's a reason everyone thinks Cal could go toe-to-toe with the best of them, and that Rey wouldn't stand a chance. It's because, duh, Cal is a classically trained Naman master, at least in my gameplay, and Rey just be swinging that shit. This is consistent for almost every appearance of characters from the prequel era, with the only real exceptions being the first ever lightsaber fight, but I think we can write that off as them not really knowing what they were doing yet. And the choreography in the Obi-Wan show sucks. Every ounce of vitriol poured into hating the sequel duels should be directed at this monstrosity, okay? I mean, just look at this. Do I even have to explain? The shakier than shaky cam, the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge glow stick lightsabers, the fact that it's most comparable to that Star Wars fan film SC-38 or whatever it's called that somehow still looks better than the average Disney Plus show, not to mention the fact that it was established in the first ever Star Wars film that Vader and Obi-Wan hadn't seen each other since the end of the war. God damn it. Ugh. The only actually good piece of saber choreography in this show is the fan service flashback scene, but you can't even credit that to this show because this wasn't even properly choreographed. In reality, Hayden and Ewan were just asked to duel and they came up with what is easily the best bit of saber swinging in the show. I guess in our world, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are the only classically trained lightsaber duelists left who survived the Purge. Huh. Anyway, moving on to the rest of the original trilogy proper. Luke don't know lightsaber techniques for shit. He lives in the middle of nowhere. He ain't got internet like that. At no point in the original trilogy does Luke get any formal lightsaber dueling training from either of his geriatric teachers. All he gets is some blaster deflection. Yoda was totally right to believe Luke was going to die when he went off to fight Vader. I absolutely would have bagged Leia as my backup too, bro. But of course, in both of his duels with Vader, Pops is going easy on him, like undeniably. Vader knows that's his child, you know? The first time he was just testing him, and the second time he really just didn't want to fight. The unfortunate truth of the matter is that Luke didn't have anyone to teach him proper lightsaber techniques or stances. Even by Return of the Jedi, he's just swinging that shit wildly. Look at this shot. I love this shot so much. But Luke is just doing what your little cousin does the moment he gets a lightsaber toy. And Anakin's just there thinking, oh, isn't that adorable? By the end of Return of the Jedi, basically every Force user from before Order 66 is dead. Okay, I'm adding this in because I totally forgot to talk about them. But obviously there's first the Mandoverse shows, and like, yeah, the choreography in those does kind of suck. I think the Luke hallway scene does look fine, and Din swinging around like an idiot is fun. But on the whole, the Filoni Favreau shows really struggled to with not just lightsaber fights, but like, you know, everything. It's like bargain bin Star Wars content. So unless y'all expect me to talk about the duels and young Jedi adventures, I don't think these shows deserve any more energy than I just gave them. There's also The Acolyte, which I think looks pretty sick, but you know, it's still kind of controversial to say. Regardless, Jedi should be badass at that point in the timeline, so this kind of stuff is fine. My point is, as far as we know, none of those who did survive gave Luke any form of training. But we know Luke is a badass, so how can that be? Well, in the comics, Luke is depicted as being able to fight well primarily because of his precognition, i.e., he's got cool plot armor through the Force. They actually show this precognition pretty well in The Last Jedi, despite it being a little goofy. It probably would have looked cool in The Acolyte, to be honest, now that I think of it. And while yes, Luke did recover a remarkable amount of holocrons and ancient Jedi texts, evidently he wasn't able to recover all the lightsaber techniques because he himself ended up combining and refining them into 3 distinct forms instead of the original 7. These 3 forms remind me of pro-bending in The Legend of Korra. It's never explicitly stated in Star Wars, but like bending in Avatar, lightsaber dueling is quickly becoming a lost art form, simplified and dumbed down due to either genocide or technology. You know, pick your poison. Anyway, with Luke being the most skilled duelist of his time by default, that also makes his only living apprentice, Kylo Ren, far and away the most skilled duelist of the sequel trilogy. Kylo Ren is skilled, by the way. His fighting style is one of the most unique and swaggiest in the whole series, and I just love watching him spin that shit. Anyway, Rey being competent and good in a fight makes sense, and I will even accept that her strength in the Force gives her enough of an edge to fight Kylo. It's just, the fact of the matter is, at this point in the narrative, classical lightsaber dueling is dead, and these two are just 2 people doing their best to survive a laser sword fight. And do you seriously think you do better than Rey is doing here? Anyway, with that context in mind, I think how raw and heavy and messy these fights are actually better help sell the atmosphere of the sequels. That being said, I will agree that they missed a trick by not giving her a saber staff. I would have taken Duel of the Fates over Rise of Skywalker any day. So where does lightsaber dueling go from there? Well, interestingly enough, the original lightsaber stances were developed in a time where there were just blasters and very few Jedi keeping the balance. Kind of like where the galaxy's left after Rise of Skywalker. Now don't get me wrong, I hate that movie, but the story did kinda end where it had to, you know, minus the stolen valor.
Rey Skywalker.
How dare you stand where he stood?
My point is, the ever-complex development of lightsaber stances were, in and of themselves, a reflection of the growing darkness within the Jedi Order. Their need to fight not just the Sith, but themselves. And while the erasure of the 7 light forms is a cultural loss to the Jedi, it's also partially the Force's way of restoring balance. Rey is left unburdened by the mistakes of her predecessors and will go on to be the first true Jedi in a long time. And as the 9th Jedi shows us, all the techniques are destined to be reinvented. In fact, that seems to be what the 9th Jedi is about in many ways. More than a homage to Star Wars itself, it's a study of the cyclical nature of the galaxy. Spoilers for the 9th Jedi, which you should definitely go watch. Skip ahead, unless you've seen it or you don't care. But as the story shows us, the art of crafting lightsabers was once lost to the galaxy, only to be reinvented. Evidently, the Jedi Order has definitely risen and crumbled more than once since Rey's time, and similarly, the Sith are lost to time, only to be reinvented. These character archetypes and stories are intentional mirrors of those in the original Star Wars saga. It makes the concept of the Force and balance in Star Wars so much clearer when you can see it across like 4 different Star Wars generations. You know, how the galaxy forgets and reinvents itself time and time again. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Hey, thanks for watching. This is the one that the Star Wars video that I'm talking about doing for a while now. I hope it turns out great, because I really enjoyed the process of writing this and, you know, and stuff. Thanks for watching. You know, like I said, please do like and subscribe if you made it this far. Here's your Toby, of course, because you made it this far. And do comment down below what your favorite lightsaber duel is. And if I'm just saying words, aren't I? Okay, yeah, like I said, like and subscribe if you did like, and if you do subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.